Good evening. Here is the world news from BGI TV, Babagede Imo TV. I am Mori Rebila Lawal. First are the major headlines for the world news. Gold not discovered in Anambra, Soludo. Falana to challenge unjust, unfair, and cruel proceedings. Some state universities are quacks, ASU president slams varsities. Fuel will sell for 250 naira per litre, pure water 50 naira, cement 6,000 naira. Banditry, 75 secondary schools yet to be reopened in Zamfara. Gunmen set ablaze houses, shops in Imo. Gunmen invade Falana camp, showed dead 15 pregnant cows and 6 other items. Tension fear in Abuja as building collapses. Confirmed number of tracked persons. U.S. court confirms Hush Puppy sentences. Date keeps mom on Kiari's case. And lastly, on sports. NFL elections. Electoral committee releases timetable. Now the news in detail. The Anambra State Governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, has denied the news of discovery of a large deposit of gold in part of the state. An online medium had, through a report, alleged that the discovery of gold reserve estimated over 20 million tons and worth over $900 trillion in Eamafu, Anambra State. The report also alleged that Soludo, in his capacity as the chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, briefed journalists at the end of a meeting of the forum on the development. But reacting to the claims, the governor, in a press statement through his press secretary, Mr. Christian Aburime, on Friday described the report as fake and misleading. A senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has vowed to legally challenge the unjust conviction and imprisonment of human rights lawyer Inibehe Effiong by the Akwa Ibom State's Chief Judge Ekaite Obot. Falana described condemned conviction and imprisonment of Effiong by the judge. On July 27th, Effiong was sent to prison by Obot after he protested against the presence of armed policemen in court. He was in court to defend Leo Ekpeyong, a lawyer, in a legal suit filed by Udom Emmanuel, governor of Akwa Ibom State. His incarceration has been described as vindicative and lacking due process. On August 3rd, the Nigerian Bar Association said the lawyer was not given a fair hearing before he was sent to prison by the judge, and the organization threatened to petition the judge at the National Judicial Council. On ASU, President of the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU, Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke, has described some state-owned universities as quack. Professor Oshodeke, who appeared on Arise television on Friday morning, was reacting to the resolve of some of the state universities to call off the strike and return to lectures. He said that the discussion should be about the federal universities such as the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, UNN, University of Ibadan, University of Maiduguri, Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, among others, which according to him are the real universities in the country. The professor insisted that all those other universities have never been part of ASU and are not counted among the striking ones. Moving to another angle of the world story. The leader of INIR, Evangelical Spiritual Church, Primate Elijah Ayodele, has said fuel would soon sell for 250 naira per litre and pure water will be sold for 50 naira. Primate Ayodele disclosed this while warning that the rate of inflation would rise in Nigeria astronomically. He said 5 litres of groundnut oil would sell for 5,000 naira, a measure of gari would sell for 1,500, and cement would sell between 5,500 to 6,000 naira. In a statement signed by his spokesman, Oluwatosin Osho, Ayodele said the situation in the country was getting to a point where the police and army would go on strike because the government would not be able to pay their salaries. So some part of Banditry, the government of Zamfara State has announced that 75 secondary schools have not been reopened in the state due to insecurity. This was disclosed by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education, Alhaji Kabiru Attahi, during a 2-day state-level meeting to domesticate national policy on gender education (NPGE) in the state. The occasion was organized by the Zamfara Universal Basic Education Board (ZUBEB) in collaboration with UNICEF. He said that the state government was working round the clock to reopen the affected schools. He emphasized that the schools were closed following persistent terror attacks by bandits operating in the states. To Imo State. Gunmen on Thursday set ablaze houses, shops in some parts of Izombe in the Oguta local government area of Imo State. An eyewitness who spoke to Vanguard from the area said the incident started happening from 4:30 p.m. till 7:30 p.m. in Izombe. At the time of filing this report, the reason for this attack was not made known. Some of the locations where the attacks took place were mentioned to Vanguard by an eyewitness. They include Central Market, Amamurugede, Eziama, Umuakpa, and Eke, well, among others. But the source, who did not want his name mentioned in the report for security reasons, said, "We saw men in security uniform. They came in with about 8 security vehicles fully armed. They drove in about 4:30 p.m. Moving on to the next story from the insecurity angle still. Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria in Rivers State says 21 cows belonging to the union's members were shot dead by unknown gunmen who invaded a settlement, Odogwa community, in the Echen local government area of the state. Chairman of the association, Mohammed Abubakar, disclosed this at the media briefing in Port Harcourt, the state capital. Abubakar said the incident occurred at about 9 p.m. on Wednesday when the cattle rearers went to town to buy some beverages, saying of the 21 cows killed, 15 were pregnant. He expressed shock over the attack because, according to him, the cattle rearers have been living in harmony with members of their host community. From that story, we go to another national within the country. It was gathered that the building, which was still under construction, had many people, especially artisans, who were at work in the facility. A 3-story building that was under construction has collapsed in the Kubwa area of Abuja, Nigeria's capital city, Vanguard reports. The collapse of the building was said to have occurred in the early hours of Friday, August 26th. While the number of workers trapped under the debris of the collapsed building cannot be ascertained immediately, officials of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, are already at the scene of the incident on the rescue operation. From that story, we go to the foreign story. The United States Attorney's Office for Central District of California, Los Angeles, says the September 24th, 2022 sentence date for our alleged international internet fraudster, Rahman Abbas, aka Hush Puppy, remains unchanged. The court's director of media relations, Tom Zorex, made this known on Friday in response to an email inquiry by Channels Television. Since Hush Puppy's conviction last year for alleged $1.1 million fraud, the court has moved the sentence date at least 3 times. Hush Puppy was initially scheduled for sentencing on February 14, but it was moved to July 11th before it was again postponed to September 2024 this year. Asked exactly when the 39-year-old Hush Puppy will be sentenced by the court, Zorex said the suspect had long pleaded guilty last year and would be sentenced later this year. Mr. Abbas is currently scheduled to be sentenced by a federal judge in Los Angeles on September 24th, he said. Hush Puppy had entered a plea bargain and pleaded guilty to charges including money laundering, wire fraud, among others brought him against by the court. According to the court documents, he risked 20 years imprisonment, a 3-year period of supervised release, a fine of $500,000 or twice the gross gain or gross loss resulting from the offense. Before we call it a wrap on the world news this hour, let's quickly have the sports story. The Nigeria Football Federation NFL Electoral Committee 2022 has released the timetable for the NFL elections slated to hold Friday, 30th September in Benin City, Edo State. The election will see a new administration take over from the Ahmadu Pinnick administration that has held sway of Nigeria football for 8 years. According to the committee, the electoral process will begin on Monday, 29th August, with the sales of nomination forms, endorsement and return of forms. It is expected to span till Thursday, 8th September 2022. The screening of the candidate is fixed for February. The screening of the candidate is fixed for Friday, 9th and Saturday, 10th September, with a short list of successful candidates to be announced on the 12th by the Electoral Committee. That concludes the world news from BGI TV. Before we go, let's quickly have a recap of some major headlines. Gold not discovered in Anambra, Soludo. Falana to challenge unjust, unfair, and cruel precedents. We also brought to you concerning ASU. Some state universities are quacks. ASU president slams varsities. And finally, on sports. NFF elections. Electoral committee releases timetable. For more updates on YouTube, our handle is Babagede Imo TV. Kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell. Select option all to access our broadcast. On Facebook, Bagede Imo with Alawiye Adebayo. Please like and follow the page. On Instagram, Bagede Imo _22. For advertisement of goods and services, coverage of events and function, please dial the phone number streaming on your screen for advert placement only. Thank you for watching. I am Morire Rebila Lawal. Jumat Mufida to all faithfuls out there.
Oh, na, na, na. If you want to know what's going on in city, or you want to listen to the latest news and gist, no stress, oh, just tune to BGI TV. BGI TV, you're one in a million.